All right. Let's go on. Please take a seat. Find your seats. So, honestly, I was trying to understand what Erica Wolfe-Murray and Alex Mecklenburg will tell us, but I didn't get it. But nevertheless, I'm very excited and curious about our next lecture because of some very interesting buzzwords I read about the talk. Words like revolution, seizing control, embedding creativity. These are words triggering me as a communication designer. So let's start the revolution. Erica Wolfe-Murray and Alex Mecklenburg.
Well, hello TYPO. Hello Berlin.
Thank you.
Oh, come on, a bit more than that. Way!
Thank you so much for having us. We're really going to try hard after Timothy. I'm probably about 20 years too old for that, but that's okay. I'm super happy that today I'm not talking at the lectern. I don't know who saw me yesterday, but I had to stand on a bread box to actually be able to talk over there. So we're free-falling today. And actually, you should be also very, very lucky because I'm trying to do this. This is what's happening in the UK at the moment. This is the most important day for Britain, and we are here mainly because Jürgen booked us first. And we were very clear. We're very clear, you know, whoever books us first, we will serve first. But we're going to watch it all afterwards, or the football, depending what comes first.
Okay. I'm Erica, and this is Alex. We both help organizations across the creative sector to develop greater resilience and do better business. And we do this all around the world. We want you to use your creative thinking on your business. I run Lola. We help studios and agencies alike to develop their intellectual capital and IP. Alex is a co-founder of Truth and Spectacle, and a consultancy that helps organizations to think and act more creatively across absolutely everything that they do. For the next 30 minutes, we want to talk about creative commercialization, what it is, and why it matters to us all. When Alex and I very first met, I really laughed because our careers started at completely the opposite ends of the spectrum.
So, yeah, I come from the big corporate world. I spent 25 years in ad agencies, digital agencies, service design consultancies, within WPP, independent ones. And actually, for the last 15 years, I was what you would probably call an entrepreneur, somebody who got called in to build a new department, to try to change structures and sell it, to talk about innovation. And I loved it. I really, really loved it. I put everything in that I had. But I got increasingly frustrated because there was an awful lot of talk and very, very little change. And in 2017, I decided to step out. And as Erica said, I co-founded a consultancy. And we are really now trying to talk to companies directly to say, stop buying creativity and start looking at how you can embed creativity within your own company, to tell better stories, to create better experiences, to partner better with people like us, and it's been a joy. Erica's experience couldn't have been different. I think she started in her 20s, and she ran several companies on her own, including her own graphic and product design studio, and I think there was an award-winning documentary production company somewhere. And this is why I love her. She took away all of that really sexy stuff, and she started to get really excited about something that I have never, ever seen anybody excited before I met Erica, and that was intellectual property. And you will see why in a minute. You're going to believe after this. Because what she saw is that within the creative industries, we have been wasting so much of our intellectual property. We gave it away. We didn't look after it. We didn't nurture it. That she was committed to use her experiences and her skills to kind of drive value for us, for the companies, for the industry. And what I love about Erica, other than she has a kick-style dress sense, is that she's one of those very few women I've ever met who is a fantastic creative and an outstanding financial director. So that first evening we talked, and I think we talked over, I don't know, you had wine, I had gin, in equal measures.
Yes.
That was my problem. And we realized that we had the same vision that had nothing to do with the gin. And that got us really excited, and we thought, you know what? We might just go out and talk to people about it because it's very, very close to our heart. So bear with us over the next 30 minutes. We share with you our thinking.
Okay, so where are we? Both of us believe right now that we, as the creative industries, so we as the creative industries, have a unique challenge, okay? But we've also got a really unique opportunity. I'm going to throw down this challenge to you too. We believe that for too long, the creative industries have not owned their place and been acknowledged for the value that they bring to the business community. Okay? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, right?
Okay, we want you to step up and take control and be accountable as key stakeholders in the global economy. Okay? Society and business are in the midst of a storm. It's a storm of change, speed, convergence, and often the race to the bottom. And everyone in the creative industries, I know, feels that pressure. But we have to make a decision. We must decide whether we want to continue building windshields or harness that storm and allow it to energize the turbines. Because we believe that what we're going to tell you and harnessing this storm can trigger a revolution, a commercial revolution. So what we're going to start with, all good places, we're going to start with some industry stats. Okay, the top figure, that towering 92 billion, is the value to the creative industries, the value of the creative industries in the UK in 2016. That's the latest figure there is. Okay, 92 billion, that's the value of our business. That has seen 45% growth over the last 6 years. Now, I just want to say that this is bigger than automotive, life sciences, aerospace, oil and gas combined in the UK. That's really some figure, okay? So just, you know, we can all pat ourselves on the back. What's more, it's just under 2 million jobs across the UK. But what's intriguing is when we talk about how automation is going to start diminishing jobs, they reckon that 85% of the jobs in the creative industries, automation is going to have no impact or very little impact and risk to us at all. So that's good. If we look at the figures across Europe, we see exactly the same story happening, to be quite frank. We've checked some European data, the patterns are the same. And for example, in Germany, the cultural and creative industries share of GDP is just behind that of mechanical engineering, who knew, and well ahead of chemical and financial service providers.
So let's just dig that, right? We as the creative industries are the ones who are not just creating value for the economy. We create value for ourselves, but also for our clients every single day, really, really tangible. I loved yesterday because all of these fantastic brand talks, the talks here, the work that you see, brand development, advertising, marketing, service design. Just think about fashion and packaging that we all love. That is part of our culture. Think about the apps that we can't live without anymore, the computer games. We develop all of those. It's part of what we do. And if you just want to look at, you know, the latest ADC in Berlin or the DNAD in London, you just see how broad and how deep our expertise is. I give you another figure because I thought that was really staggering, really surprised me. 70% of the UK creative companies have 100,000 or less turnover. It's not really that big, isn't it? And if we compare that with the turnover of most of our clients, well, I think there is a certain deep inconsistency here. So there's two questions I'd like to ask us, and the people who work with me know that I can be painfully provocative. The first one is, why are we not demanding the reward that reflects the overall economic value that we create? Why don't we demand that? And I have a theory, but I keep that to myself. And the other thing is, how can we then build resilient companies of all sizes if we don't demand it? So in order for us to become commercial partners, we as the creative industries need to change our mindset, our vocabulary, our working practices, and pardon my French, I think we need to grow some balls. And those could be she balls or he balls. And if I'm in a more corporate environment, I would say we need to start learning to behave like real partners. I love an equation. People who heard me on Friday know that. We need to become much more comfortable and adept by connecting our creativity with commercial acumen, because that will allow us to move away from complying to the current commercial rules. And I know, by God, we are complaining about them quite a lot, right? It's really comfortable to complain. If you complain, you don't need to take action. And I'd really like us to think about how we can take action. And last time I looked at what creativity means, I came across that definition, right? Creativity is not really a lot other than looking at existing things and starting to combine them in new things. And that is why we call what we do creative commercialization. So, Erica, how do we do that?
See, I get the tricky bit. Okay, we see three key areas where creative companies, and this is the great thing about this, of any size, can create new rules for their business. So whether you are a freelancer, this all works. Whether you're a small company, this all works. Whether you're a big studio, this all works, okay? So really, everybody can write notes. Okay, the three areas, and we're going to unpack these in a bit more detail in a minute. The three areas of value, revenue, IP, and contracts. Now, anybody who wants to go to sleep now at the look of that slide, please don't. You're going to learn something. So let's take value models first of all. And Timothy showed us really, really fantastically what are the first question that we need to ask ourselves. What are the key characteristics that make you different from other companies, that make clients want to work with you? How can you capitalize on these strengths and charge properly for them? And how can you look at what you do in different ways to identify new products and services? The second area with real potential is revenue models. Let's move away from the default position of paying people by the hour. What else can we do? And the third one is around IP and contractual thinking. We need to stop giving everything away for free and understand the power of harnessing and owning our own IP. So how might creative commercialization work across all these three areas in sort of real life, in practice? Let's start with value models. What might fresh value models for your business look like? When both Alex and I start working with new clients, they're often desperate to come up with the next thing. Okay, what's happening? What's going to take their business forward? What are they going to do tomorrow? But we put the brakes on really, really firmly. We go, oh, no, stop here. Instead of looking ahead, we unpack what has got them to here. Their journey, your journey, all our journeys to here are totally unique. No one is ever going to be able to replicate your story, ever. And this is true whether you're large, small, or a freelancer. Therefore, it completely makes sense that you build your business, the springboard to your future, on your heritage, on your past. You know, Timothy showed that brilliantly earlier on. So really, for most of us, when we want to cook something new, we open a cookery book, we work out what we're going to make, and then we go and buy the ingredients, okay? But what we do when we work with businesses is that rather than open that recipe book, we open the store cupboard, the company's store cupboard. What do we have in that store cupboard? What have we got in there? What do we have that's got you to here? What are you using now? Can we mix any of those ingredients completely differently? Have you got different configurations of work that you can put together, skills that you can build new and different things with? Can we repurpose things that you do already into something new? People are already buying you for these things, so what can we do that creates new, different values for you? And only then do we ask, are there any extra skills or new ingredients that we add to the mix? Okay? So that's a really, really clear way. And this way we can come up with fresh value models and thinking that are built around the ingredients inherent in every company, rather than just using the ones that are the sort of industry norm. Okay, one quick example. Take Louise Yates. She's an author and children's author and book illustrator. She started her career as a stylist, and before a publisher accepted her first book, which is called Dog Loves Books. She's now got 7 books. Dolly Parton has read her books on the BBC, and in fact, she's got an animated series in production for children's BBC. Now, Louise could quite happily sit down and let everybody else do all the work. But she decided that she wanted to drive value from absolutely everything that she does. With a small hand-picked team, she's come up with an innovative model for direct-consumer animation channel. Her idea. Working with developers, she wants to bring her stories and those of 1 or 2 other illustrators to a wider global audience. Now, what's interesting is Louise has taken the risk, but what is going to be amazing is that she will then earn the profits. Okay? She's really, really using her own skills, her own assets.
And Ivan, my business partner, and myself, we worked with a client, Someplace Nice. They are a fantastic Canadian film and commercial production company. And I talk a lot about storytelling, and the reason why I get really excited about storytelling is if you find stories in your companies, very often you can turn them into business. And that is what we did there. So Someplace Nice is one of the 10 leading production companies in Canada, and we rang their clients. We rang their employees. We had little chats with everybody, and we asked them to tell us the stories about Someplace Nice. And it became very clear that one thing bubbled up. Okay, I'm a pattern spotter. I love things when they're bubbling up. You kind of go, ooh, that's really exciting. And what bubbled up was that everybody said they are super, super good with money, meaning they can stretch a production budget without kind of going down on the creative output, which everybody appreciated. Now, interestingly, Someplace Nice, because we're not very good with ourselves, aren't we? They saw that as, oh my God, they think we are cheap. No, that's not what they said. They said, you're really, really good with money. So we sat down with them and we said, look, these stories, how can we turn them into something new? And what we developed was a service model, whereas they do cost management training to procurement, to their competitors, to have much better conversations around money, and they get paid for that. So now they do production, but they also offer cost management trainings. Do you see how that works? And I would really, really ask you to go back home and think what you do and what you give away for free in order to get to your product, because there might be something in there that people go, do you know what? I'd like to have a bit of that. So value models don't have to go downstream. The other thing that we look at, and I'm sorry that we use all of these really boring words, seriously, revenue models. I tried to sex it up with a bit of neon dollar sign, but I'm not quite sure how far I got there. I'm going to do some audience participation. Again, I'm trying to channel my inner Timothy. I'm about half his size, so maybe that'll work quite well. Who in the audience sell their services by the hour? Who sells their services by the hour? Don't worry, it's absolutely fine. I think Erica is having her hand up too.
Yeah, I do.
So the reason why I'm asking that is most of us sell ourselves by the hour, don't we? Or our teams. But that is pretty limiting, right? Because if you're running a good shop, a true shop, an authentic shop, you can only sell your hours once, okay? And if you can only multiply that by the number of people that you work with. So scale is really, really hard. You have to work with more people, more hours to get any money. Now, that isn't going to change. You know, both of us, Erica and I, use that model at times, but we also use an awful lot of other models. Second, audience participation. And I need to look because A, I'm massively short-sighted, and B, the lights are horrible. Who in the audience gets paid additional revenue when you overshoot targets that you and your clients set up front in the brief? Who gets money when they do really well? Weller, if that word exists, it does now, weller than their clients thought they would. It's going to be a little down, right?
A single hand up.
All right, so that's the first thing, right? If you do better than what you promised, I think you should start having a conversation. Not afterwards, that's a bit awkward, but beforehand. But I push you a little further, because what if you think about getting bona fide not only by the success now, but by the lifetime value of the new customers that you got brought in. So imagine if I go in a shop and buy something now, so that's an immediate reaction, right? But you know what? I'm not going to go into that shop now because of that brand development work that you did. I'm going to go into that shop for the next 3, 4, 5 years. Okay? I have contracts like that. It is possible. And I'm not as smart as Erica. So I think that's definitely something to do. The big thing is we need to start becoming really comfortable talking about money. Money is a good conversation if you talk about money up front. Money is going to become a really awkward conversation if you talk about it afterwards. There's another way of approaching revenue models that could bring us more opportunities. Oh, look, there was a slide, and I forgot about it. Time is not the only currency. I'm going to give you the next one. Have you ever heard about OPEX and CAPEX? I know, it's horrible words, but they could be incredibly valuable for you. So, brand development, advertising, and products, so everything we do, are generally seen at your clients as a part of OPEX. And OPEX means operational expenditure. It's a fancy word for costs. Okay? It's seen as a cost in your client's balance. Now, I woke up one day and I said, but that's a bit daft. We work on brands. Brands are not a cost, brands are investment. And there is something on a balance sheet of a client that is called CAPEX. And CAPEX is called capital investment. It's all the stuff they buy, okay? Their houses, their offices, their computers, that will last, that really create value up front. Now, I would argue that brand development is not OPEX. It's not a cost. It's an investment. So start having those conversations with your clients, because you see how words change. I would say a lot of people feel much more comfortable to pay for an investment than to pay for a cost. And talking about boring balance sheets, there's generally much more money in CAPEX in your client's balance sheet than they know. So ask them, you know, and they can go to their finance people and say, oh, I had this strange designer there talking about words that I don't even understand. Ooh, balance of power, slowly moving. I like that. So just please initiate the conversation.
Okay, during my career, I've been both a creative director and a financial director of a company with a turnover of several million. Okay, but what I did was I took the creativity that I had on that side with my creative director's hat on, and I applied it to financials, and I looked at the financials. And I compiled a little black book. But in that little black book were more than 50 financial models from over 200 creative companies that I've worked with over the last 4, 5, 6 years. Now, I was intrigued because one day I went to talk to a firm of accountants because I was quite interested in having a really good accountancy practice that I could refer my clients to and things like that. And I sat down with this accountancy practice. And do you know the thing about accountancy practices? Guess how they charge their time out? By the hour and the day. Yep, so they're in the same sort of model as we are. But I was talking to this accountancy firm, and we were chatting about how they helped clients and potentially helped clients and things like that. And I said to them, I asked them if they had a master list of revenue models that they used with all the different clients they had. They had film clients, they had design clients, ad agencies, all sorts of different things. I said, have you got this sort of master list? Can you help various companies earn revenues in different ways that other companies are similar to that? I thought that this was something that, I don't know, you probably get in accountancy school, whatever that is. And they looked at me, and the guy, I have to say, scratched his head. And he said, why would we need that? And I went, I felt it was important to be able to help all my clients understand all the different revenue models that all the creative companies can do so they can learn and extend their own business. But what it brought home to me more than anything was that there was a whopping great gulf. A gulf between the way we work, I work, and how they work, okay? I realized that most accountants are only good at reporting, not inventing. That's what you do.
So our suggestion is really, really simple. Who of you are collectors? Collecting is massively human, isn't it? We love collecting. So if you hate thinking about money, just reframe it and start thinking about collecting. Collect your own models of revenue, and I'm going to get you even more out of your comfort zone now. And I know there's coffee after this. We're very aware that we're between you and your coffee, and I apologize deeply for that. But I'd like you to use that coffee break. And what I'd like you to do is to start chatting with people about how they make money. Just talk. I talk to my hairdresser. I ask them how they make money. I talk to a photographer that I commission. I probably don't talk the baker when I buy a bun, but maybe I should. Maybe they have some cunning bun-selling scheme that I have never heard of before. And I'm being a little funny here, but you see where this is going. Again, our fear of talking about money stops us from learning. Ask people. And most people are super proud about it, and they will be very happy to tell you about it. So when you have your coffee, when you have your tea, when you sit outside and have a beer, just chat. I have to warn you, it does get a bit embarrassing. Erica gets overexcited, and she starts to jitter. And in those moments, I just walk away and have a beer. But she knows so much more than me, and that is because she asks. So when working with clients, we both generally encourage clients to try to figure out 4 or 5 revenue models. Now, as a kind of comparison, Google is working with 30 to 40 revenue models at any given time. That is why they are so resilient. If something doesn't work anymore because of the cultural changes, because of legal changes, they are going to swap their revenue model into something else. So Erica is going to give you one of her examples now.
Okay. I was working with a contemporary arts organisation who some years before had been asked by a local council to organise a city festival in one of the UK's big cities. And what we were doing was really mapping the story of that project because I wanted to identify how they were being paid. I was trying to get under the skin of this business really, really quickly. The budget only paid my client for the staging of the festival. Okay, yet they were expected to create absolutely everything, all the assets, from scratch as part of their role. The festival took 2 years of planning, including finding additional sponsorship funding, commissioning original music, commissioning an opera. Who's ever done that? What a great thing to do. And other content, as well as supplying all the sort of materials and artworks. 2 whole years of work without a paycheck until the festival was over, when it was payday. Their investment was huge. So one afternoon, and I remember it was really hot, and it was on the roof of a club in central London, and the wine was flowing. God, this is making me sound like a real lush. The wine was flowing, and we had this huge, great sheet of paper out there. And what I did was to map out their value touch points. I made them relive the whole of this painful process, that hot, sunny afternoon. just like you all map out a customer journey. And I went through from initial brief to the delivery of the festival. But as we talked, they sort of said to me, well, it's not over yet. And I went, what? This was a couple of years back. And they said that some of the work that they were commissioned every so often goes out on tour, and they still have to organize some of that, and they're still not being paid for it. So as we went round this huge, great diagram, this sort of organogram, this massive, great thing that spread out over the table, to their shock, I found 9, yep, that's 9 income streams that they could have shared in addition to their staging fee. 9. And, you know, you can feel their pain, because I think we've all been here. It included shares of, they could have negotiated shares of things like music publishing rights, a percentage of some of the successful funding applications they'd gone for, of sponsorship, of, you know, the ticket sales were amazing for this event, and they completely knocked their targets for 6, so they could have taken a share of that. Now, what's really interesting about all these sources of additional funding, or music rights, or whatever, none of those would have taken any money away from the clients. Nothing. It was all extra things that they brought to the table. It was about finding new and really, really different pots of money. Now, psychology tells us that nobody likes giving away anything of what they've got in their bank account, their wallet, you know, wherever, their pocket. But people and organizations, and it's really key to remember this, find it much easier to give away a share of future income, okay? Don't like giving away what they've got now because they've got to pay you, whatever. Future. So what future? How can you structure deals so that you get a share of future income that you guys help create? It's a really, really interesting thing when you sit down and have those negotiations, or you look at a brief that you've been given. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's not gin.
It's really hot up here, I tell you that. And I'm going to talk to you about something even more boring. Sorry. IP and contracts. I know, I just fell asleep myself. But I can't because I'm standing up here. And again, I think what you find out now, if you just do one thing tomorrow about it, well, tomorrow is Sunday and Monday is bank holiday, so let's do it on Tuesday. I think you might see a difference in your contracts. So the last bit of crowd participation, I know that doesn't go down very well in Germany. I am German, so I'm very aware of that. Who knows what is written in the World Intellectual Property Office definition of IP? Mm-hmm. I would assume some of you, if I would go down now to the really embarrassing thing and take a mic and walk around and ask you, and you kind of try to pretend that you're not sitting in the first row, would tell me something like that. In German, in English, and slightly more human language. Right? I love that, actually. Creations of the mind. That's what we do. Yeah, inventions, literally artistic works, designs, symbols, names, images, used in commerce. Well, that makes sense. But actually, the second part of this is the really, really interesting part. And effectively, that could become one of the most important takeouts for you today. It's a lot of words. I'll talk you through them. IP is protected by law by, for example, patents, copyrights, and trademarks, which enable people to earn recognition or financial benefit from what they invent and create. You with me so far? Okay. By striking the right balance between the interests of innovators, those are you, and the wider public interest, those are also you, the IP system aims to foster an environment in which creativity and innovation can flourish, not in which creativity and innovation are strangled. Okay, so it seems very, very unambiguously that the creator of any IP should be actually able to both own it, it says there, and profit from it. And as the creators, and thereby the initial owners, you, all of you, should be the ones who have the choice as on what happens with your IP, and also the ones who should benefit from it, whether that is financially or not. So the most creative agencies sign away their IP in contracts by default? Who signs away their IP? Who has horrible clauses in their contracts to say the IP goes over to the client? And a lot of us just sign it off without thinking. We just go, yeah, that's what the contract looks like. I have to sign that because otherwise I won't get the work. In English, this is called Dragon's Den. I think in German it is called the Höhle des Löwen. And the English one is much meaner. The English one is really ball busters, you see them. In the German one, everybody smiles all the time. But the first question that these people ask you is, do you own your IP? And if you say no, there is no way they're going to invest in you, because they know if you don't own your IP, why should they invest in you? You know, you're going to be far too expensive to be a mannequin in front of your business. It doesn't work. So I'm asking you, if those slightly poncy TV investors who are actually all big business people, if they think it is important enough to ask for IP in the first sentence when these poor entrepreneurs come on board and tremble and kind of go, can I just help, please? Why don't we who create the IP believe in it and value it more?
So, okay, in the same way that you can be inventive with revenue models, you can be really, really inventive and imaginative about how you work with intellectual property. I happen to think intellectual property is very sexy, but most companies that I work with look at me and roll their eyes until they realize that they own a whole lot. Most clients think that they have to own the IP that you create for them to be able to use it or to profit from it. When I have a conversation about IP with creative companies, I ask them what matters most to their clients. Okay, what matters most? Actually owning the IP themselves, or that they can make money from the exploitation of it? Those are two really, really different things. Often it's the latter. They just want to have something that they can make money from. Okay, could be a piece of packaging, could be a design, fashion, something like that. They want to ensure that they get a cut of any of the action from it. So think how your company or your business can own the IP, but allow others to share in the profits that it might generate. You know, you can share an income from IP without having to give it away. Back-end split, royalties, all sorts of different words. But really, really think through how you can retain that IP to build. This build-up of IP in your business over a really long-term period could be an incredibly valuable building block. And I'll tell you the other secret about building your own IP. Nobody, and I mean absolutely nobody, is going to nurture it like you will. Nobody will take care, love it, grow it, apply it in different ways, because it's your baby, and you know, you can look after it better than anybody else. Yeah, sure, you can ask other people for ideas, but you can do this, because you've got a vested interest in it, okay? Right. This is a design, there's a lot of designers here. There's a big elephant in the room, okay? And this is the first question that after I've made that statement, everybody goes, but. When you deliver branding work for clients, surely they always want to own the IP, because after all, it's your brand they're working on. Yeah? How many times have we all heard that? I know I have, lots. Perhaps. But what you could do is you can choose to license that IP exclusively to the client on an ongoing basis. Some companies do already. Perhaps with a further payment linked to this brand's success 3, 6, 10 years down the line. Okay, what would that look like? That success that you've helped create. Remember that 92 billion? Some of that should be yours. Okay? And you can also limit where in the world they use your work. Okay? If the brief told you that it was for the UK, if they start using it around the world, a bit more money, please. Okay? And I've had those conversations. So really, really remember, IP is a key building block of your business and the success of your business. So we should all be really, really so much more proactive and excited about what we've got, what we do with it, what's sitting in the cupboard, all of those sorts of things. Okay, so don't just generate it, get out there and use it.
You didn't think this would be a geeky presentation, right? We totally geek out. We geek out on that stuff so that you can geek out on what you like to do. So let's talk about contracts. Yes, yes, I hear you say yes. Okay, so big disclaimer. I'm going to turn 51 tomorrow. I know it's horrible, but there's nothing else I can do about it other than gin. And thank you. Thank you. My boyfriend is sitting in the group. You hear that. They endorse that. I'm perfectly okay tomorrow. So I have negotiated an awful lot of contracts in my life. The longest negotiation that I ever had was 1 year. And it was a global negotiation with a very large, fast-moving consumer good company who was selling a lot of ice cream and soup. And the interesting thing is that the bulk of all contracts that I ever negotiated have taken the power away from the creative industry, wholly and completely. And that's not a surprise, because most of them are written by lawyers. And lawyers are being paid to be risk-averse. You know, they are like accountants. They live and work to execute. They're not hired to be inventive. That is your job. Go to them, talk to them, tell them that you would like to have in there, and then they will tell you how to word it. So when Ivan and I launched our company, we sat down and said we wanted to do it differently because we thought, well, we have to drink our own Kool-Aid, right? If we advise people, we're going to write all of our contracts differently, we're going to write our employment contracts differently, we're going to write our contracts in a way that our values are, that our stories are. And we started to talk to lawyers, and they looked at us with this empty face. But you know what? We found a lawyer who got it and who really helped us pull it all together. So one of the most important things that we have in there is what we call a contract of opportunity. And the main clause we added was about permission. How many times do you get a brief, and you look at that brief, and you sign the contract, and everything is fine, and then you go, oh yeah, all right, oh God, I have a much better idea. What a brilliant idea. And because we are very needy as an industry, right, we need love. Because we don't get a lot of money, so at least we need love. So we really, really depend on the case that our clients love us. So we turn into those lovely puppies, and we walk over and we go, please, please, please love me. I have this brilliant idea. Please, come on. And you're talking to them about this idea, and suddenly it's there. Suddenly you have given that idea to them over a coffee. All right? And you can't take it back. It's there. It's now their idea. You cannot just go a Doctor Who moment of going, this hasn't happened. So what we put in our contract was, if we, as a company, see a commercial opportunity that the client had not seen and had not talked about in their brief, we have the opportunity to go back to them officially with a presentation, and you can decide what the presentation looks like, and we retain the IP. Okay? We might then discuss with them and negotiate with them around this IP, but we're not giving it away in a chat. We are not giving it away against love. That just doesn't work. So both Erica and I think that this clause offers creative companies a real step change, allowing them and actually motivating them to be much more innovative and to keep the IP for your innovation. And when we started to talk to clients about that, they got that. They said, if I talk to the creative company and I give them that clause in the negotiation, I'm probably getting much more proactive, motivated work, all right? Because, yes, you're going to get something for it. So Erica actually sold it to Re, which is a branding company. It's part of MC Saatchi. And they're now using it. And ironically, the first client that they used it on was a legal company. And it worked a treat. So there you are. But what else can we do? How other can we adapt contracts to reflect opportunities? I'm also a very, very sad person. I'm that. I'm a hunter. I love hunting. I used to love hunting for great jobs for the agencies and the consultancies that we had. And when I hunted, I went out there, I found a client, and they loved what we did, and they said, yes, yes, we're going to do it. But there's this tiny problem. We don't have the money. And you kind of look at them, remember that love? You suddenly turn into that puppy, and you go, I can help you. I can get you money. So you're going back to the agency, and you're going to start thinking, how can we get them money? And you ring them, and you say, actually, have you thought to get it from that department? And you know what? We have partners over there. I think if we can pull them in, we could get this all done. And that's wonderful. That's very helpful. But I don't think you saw any money for it. You did it because you wanted to protect your program, your project. You were so happy that you could do the full scope, that you were just going out and doing it. And I don't want you to stop going out and doing it, but I want you to think about that you are actually adding value to your client, and that it is perfectly okay to ask for something in exchange for that value. Putting a contract in your clause, or even putting a clause in your contract, or any other way, saying that you are proactively helping them to find more money, is a great thing. It can trigger a commission fee. And it doesn't really matter where the money is found. It could be a government grant. It could be from partners. It could be found internally. And you can also benefit from sharing any expected return on output, which could potentially be cash or equity.
Okay, but I'm going to suggest something that you can do, well, Sunday, tomorrow, Monday, bank holiday. Okay, it's going to have to be Tuesday morning. Do you remember this clause here? This one that shows you that you own what you create. I'm going to make a suggestion to you, and because this is what I'm now telling all of my clients to put in the very front of their contracts. Put this clause. Okay? Put this clause before a client or potential client even starts reading your contract and your terms, okay? And what you're doing is you're setting your marker really firmly in the sand and saying, we own this IP, and we want to be financially recognized for this work. Not just being paid by the day. We want to share. We want to have our creativity and innovation paid so our businesses can flourish. We want our share of that 92 billion. Okay? It's very simple, because what you're doing before the client has even started taking a red pen and going through that contract is you are stating that this is how you expect to be treated. You are stepping up as creative partners in that creative commercialization. It's a big signal to the clients that you're changing the story, okay? Now, all of the areas that we've touched on today have to be in those contracts. The value you bring, the new payment models that, of course, you've all discovered and now want. Joint exploitation, rights. They all have to be there to ensure that you can share in the opportunities that may emerge in the future. Now, hopefully over the last 30 minutes, we've really illustrated to you how creative commercialization can work. But I have to tell you that introducing it's a mindset. Everything's not going to change overnight, okay? It really, really isn't. But this way of thinking, this new way of thinking, has to be who we are as an industry, okay? And it has to start somewhere. You've got to do it. Introducing it's a mindset. It's got to start on your website somewhere. You've got to refer to this new way of doing business so that when people walk in through the door, they're not surprised by it. It's got to be in your creds, okay? And also, it's got to then be in your contract. Now, I had a meeting before I came out here with a new agency that I'm working with over in the UK on, when was it? Tuesday, Wednesday, I don't know, where are we? And one of the owners of the agency had this very conversation about this new mindset, this thinking, with one of their new clients. And do you know what was fascinating about the story that he told me as they drank I'm horrified to hear 11 bottles of wine from a lunch that's, why is this contract about alcohol, this talk about alcohol? Through the whole thing was this guy had left a really, really amazing job in the city, and he'd launched this new business. The agency I'm working with was helping him build the business. And this guy said to my client, "Have you ever done this before?" Because he was obviously practicing. And my client had the courage to say, "No, I haven't. You're my guinea pig." And he was thrilled.
To wrap up.
Yeah. So you have to work with it every day, and to ensure all of your team understands it too. Practice it, get used to the vocabulary, develop ideas in the new working models, learn to pitch, present, and defend those models. So it's about being brave, everybody. Seize the bull by the horns. And whether you're a large, a small company, or a freelance, it works for everybody. And that way, we become real commercial partners to our clients. It's the new way of doing creative business. So just to reiterate really quickly, value models. Start with yourself. What makes you unique? What makes you different, and how can you charge for these? Revenue models. Stop selling people by the hour or day. Start collecting different revenue models and experiment with them to develop multiple streams of revenue. IP and contracts. Just stop giving away IP and start seeing contracts as an opportunity to protect and grow your business.
Fantastic. I'm aware we ran over. Sorry, you can't believe that this is so exciting, right? Thank you so much for your time. I'm here to rally you because apparently I can do that really well. So I rally you. You are creatives. I'm a kind of semi-creative. She's definitely creative. So let's use our creativity to harness that and to be powerful and not to sit at home and bitch about the contracts you have, the fact we don't make money, but to actually step in and start getting yourself, knowledgeable about that. Feel comfortable talking about money and talking to people about money who maybe know a lot about it. And now I'm going to be really ruthless. There's a book outside. It's much smaller than most of the books, but it's much denser, okay? And it's cake, and it's written by Erica. And if you have any questions, and I can feel the questions, go and buy that book. It's also really cheap, and it will really make a massive, big difference to your business. And we are around, so if you have any questions, we're very happy to try to answer them or give you kind of the thumbs up to go to do that. Thank you so much for listening. You've been a brilliant audience.
You're done, aren't you? Stay, Paul. So thank you very much. And it was not boring, definitely not boring. Maybe this Jonathan presentations are more sexy, but I know about the importance of what you do and how important this is for our branch. It's so important. Thank you so much for that.
My pleasure.
You're welcome. Go back.
Maybe two questions. What could be the biggest triggers for clients to hire a designer? And I think it's not creating beauty, isn't it?
No, I was going to say the biggest trigger.
Yeah, to hire designers.
Oh, what's the biggest trigger to hire a designer? I think it's a combination of everything, but what I see now is with the commercialization of creativity, that is one of the real new differences. Yeah. That it's actually not just about what they've done in the past, but actually how they're thinking about new ways of earning, new ways of bringing revenue to the table.
Understand, yeah. Okay. And the other way around, if I'm a designer and would like to make acquisitions, what would you recommend to say first to a potential client?
I think to be very open and to say, I love to work with you and I want to make this work, and it will only work if both of us are happy. And let's have a conversation on how both of us were happy. And that means also listening to the client, asking them what's very important to them. One of the things that I used to do, I asked my clients very, very personally of saying, what are you getting bona fide on? What is important for you? Yeah. So listen and then make a point. Okay, so finally back to England. Is the royal wedding maybe the biggest creative commercialization ever? Pretty much
Probably.
So.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, goodbye.
Es war super, es war wirklich toll.